Welcome to this week's episode of the Soto Mojo Podcast. My name is Trevor.
And my name is Ethan.
And we're just a couple of high school baseball coaches from Tacoma who love talking Mariners baseball. Dude, we are in week 2 of our early morning recordings.
We're so back.
We are back,
We're
dude.
so back.
It is sunny outside, which means it's going to be freaking cold outside. But other than that, it's great.
We're going to get everything.
We're going to get everything in, dude. I'm just saying we are in week 2 of our high school season. So that means we got games this week, dude.
Yeah.
Our guys are ready, bro. They've been working hard. They were fired up yesterday at practice. They're ready to go. I
was fired up.
We got a jamboree on Thursday. Our innie outie looked fire yesterday.
It looked really good.
Did a little sim game yesterday. Got our jamboree on Thursday, our first game on Saturday. It's coming in hot, dude.
Yeah.
Fun time to be coaching baseball. And then you're also in your select league deal, like you're coaching on the weekends too. Like just Coach Nemo coming in hot. Just got a full schedule over there.
And we had our first tournament this past weekend. It went pretty well.
Yeah,
we had a pretty rough ending on Sunday, but
sometimes,
I was proud of them.
Sometimes that's baseball, man. Sometimes it'll get you. But hey, man, let's get around the league. There's actually weirdly enough, not a ton of news. We have seen some signings. We've been waiting, but not a ton of news coming around the league. Obviously, we're just in spring training, so teams are just kind of figuring out, who the guys that they have. Obviously, monitoring injuries that are happening, just stuff around the league. Where do you want to start, man?
Matt Chapman.
Finally, that means we can be done talking about him, right? Are we allowed to stop talking about Matt? Is that allowed on Mariners Twitter for us to stop talking about Matt Chapman?
This could be the last time we talk about him.
That would be great.
Because he went to the Giants.
And he went to the National League.
3-year, $54 million deal. I think it's 16 years the first year, or $16 million the first year, 18 mil the second year, and then 20 for the third.
Dude, Scott Boras looks bad.
He looks really bad.
So, just for the record, if you're not keeping it at home, Scott Boras is now 0 for 2 with the Scott Boras 4 so far. So, we knew that Matt Chapman, supposedly, according to Boras, was looking for 150 mil.
Right.
He got 54 mil over 3 years. And then Bellinger, we knew, was trying to go for a $200 million contract, according to Boras. And he got 80. We're not even in the ballpark of what they're looking for, which tells me that Snell's price is going to be way down.
Yeah, and the years are going to be less too.
The years are going to be less. There's going to be some opt-outs. We've heard some rumors about what Snell is willing to take now. It sounds like he might even be open to a 3-year with 2 opt-outs.
It just goes down by the day.
Right. And teams are coming out saying, like, dude, they're done with free agency. Like, they're not even looking at it anymore. Like, the Giants GM got asked about if they're going to go get Snell, and he said in his opinion that the offseason for free agents is done. So I wonder how many GMs are feeling that way. Like, bro, Scott Boras, you're not going to paint everybody into a corner and get your way, bro.
And it feels like the Giants are like the favorites or one of the favorites for Snell.
And he just came out yesterday and said it's not happening.
I think it seems like Yankees or nothing.
Dude, I'm like, bro, he's turned down the Yankees twice now, by the way.
Yeah.
The Yankees have thrown him 2 contracts now, and he said no both times. And maybe that's because he has some Seattle roots, right? And hates the Yankees.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some allegiance. Yeah. I mean, he grew up here and loves the M's. I mean, any true Mariner fan from, before 2013,
yeah.
Like if anybody's been a fan for longer than that, like, we all hate the Yankees, and that'll never stop. Like, I don't care. I every year that they don't make the playoffs, I literally have like a piece of joy the day that they get eliminated. Like, I absolutely loathe the Yankees and always will. I have friends of mine that are Yankees fans, and they get ticked at me when every year I post on social media, like, the Yankees just got eliminated from the playoffs, and that feels like the World Series to me because I'm a Mariners fan because we've never been to the World Series. So here we are. So anyways, sorry, that's a little rant from me. Around the league, we did see a Mariners legend sign. And by Mariners legend, I mean like the antithesis of a Mariners legend. Colton Wong signed a minor league deal with the Orioles.
God, I don't picture him in orange.
It's going to be
weird.
It's going to look weird. But you know what? Like, goes to a good franchise. And obviously he went to the Dodgers last year. His first at bat, what did he do?
He went yard.
He went yard.
He went yard.
His first at bat with the
He
Dodgers.
went freaking
And
yard.
then as a Mariners fan, you go, okay. But here's the deal. This might be shifting. So everyone's, we're all primed and used to whenever a player leaves and they just rake. Teo hit the grand slam, his first at bat with the Dodgers. Wong hit a home run, his first. But here's the deal. Wong ended up like cooling off. And even though he got a lot more reps than he probably should have down the stretch, he didn't really do much for the Dodgers, man.
No, but
And
he didn't get opportunities. But like, why would he? That
dude,
literally
he
the
actually got more
Avengers.
opportunities than I thought he was going to.
Yeah, I mean
For a
that's
team
true.
in a playoff push, they like pinch hit him at the end of games.
Yeah,
I'm like, do you know who Colton Wong is? Like, why are
because
you
they had like Gay Hernandez.
right? I'm like, why are you pinch hitting Colton Wong at the end of games though? Like, that's insane. But anyways, he goes to the Orioles. We did see a big extension.
God, no kidding.
Actually a league record extension in Zach Wheeler. Where'd he go? Or where did his contract extension end up with his team?
I mean,
With the Phillies.
yeah, with the Phillies. 3 years, 126 million. Like I saw that and my jaw hit the floor. Think about this, right? In 2022, we signed Luis Castillo to a 5-year, $108 million contract. Zach Wheeler just went for 3 years, 126.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody's gonna get it, it's probably him.
Sure.
But I mean, wow. Like
Well,
that number is crazy
right.
considering what we paid for Castillo.
Right. That just makes the Castillo deal even better. It feels like that. And here's the deal: when it happened, when Castillo signed with us, we actually were saying like we're going to look back on this deal favorably. Like these are favorable terms for the Mariners as an organization for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some big injury news. So Justin Verlander officially is going to start the year on the IL, which is huge news. And we also saw this morning as we're driving in that Lucas Giolito is likely to miss opening day with the Red Sox with some elbow discomfort.
Professional scammer.
Could miss the year, dude. So now what he did for the Angels, what he just did to the Red Sox. I mean, he just signed a 2-year deal worth 38 point,
Jeez.
yeah, 38. I saw an 8 there. $38.5 million this offseason. Like we're talking about crazy money. And now this is 2 teams that he has kind of fleeced a little. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows if he actually knew he was injured or not before he signed it. I'd like to believe the best in people, but that it feels a little sketchy to me that he struggled last year when he went
Went to the
went to the
Angels. He
Angels,
sucked.
struggled.
And then he signed this big deal. I mean, that's a lot for him. Like
Right.
the production that you get.
Right.
And then he's hurt on top of that. Like, I don't know. And then we
Yeah.
saw I just saw this like 10 minutes ago. Sonny Gray might miss the start of the year with a hammy strain. And then next one.
Yeah, dude, some injuries. I mean, that was it. This is the next one. No, so that was, injury wise across the league. Those are the big ones that opened our eyes a bit. We
And
did,
they're all pitchers,
and
by
they're
the
all
way.
pitchers. Yeah, which is
Thank you,
weird.
pitch clock.
I don't think it's the pitch clock.
I mean, Sandy's out for the year. Felix Bautista's out for the year. Most of the year.
Injuries happen every year. The other thing is, dude, is
From
the question is,
Scherzer.
are players getting more? And this is honestly just a good discussion point. Are players getting more injured now than they did back in like the 90s, or are players just more like, hey, they're more aware of the injuries that they have and that they're not willing to like press through? Like I'm sure guys got hurt back in the 80s, the 90s, whatever, but like they probably just pitched through a lot of the pain and whatever. Like they weren't trying to keep their
Yeah.
bodies like a Ferrari like they are now, right? Where it's
Yeah,
like,
I mean, and then also people throw harder than they've ever have.
right.
So like that puts more strain on your arm.
Sure.
So
I'm just saying, like, I don't like laying it at the feet of the pitch clock. I think the pitch clock's good, honestly, across the board. I mean, sure, the data we don't have the data yet on if it increases injuries or not. There are some players that think that it
it
is.
does. I really think it does.
Wow. I mean, it might be a component, but I just don't think it's the reason. Is my point. One of the funny things, speaking of Yankees, we did see Mariners legend. I will say Mariners legend for Daniel Vogie hit a nuke off of Garrett
Like
Cole
tank.
and like just was
completely
trotting
turned
around the bases. Like I don't think he was trying to like make a statement. I think Cole was just pissed that he gave up a home run, and he like accused Vogelbach after the game of like jogging slowly to rub it in. I don't know, like something, like showboat it. And I'm like, no, dude, Vogie's just slow. Do you not remember him
Like,
trying to
that
take
is
second
the
base yesterday?
worst person you could ever say was jogging slow on the bases.
Right. He's slow, dude. Do you remember him trying to take second last year against us?
Dude,
Like trying to stretch a single
people
into a
started
double in the
posting that.
gap?
People started posting that,
It was
like, oh my
hilarious.
god.
And just gets thrown out by a mile trying to take
Because
two.
JP, like, takes the relay throw, and he has
He's
no idea.
surprised.
He's like, "Oh."
He's like, oh, okay. And we throw him out by a mile. But anyways, it was just hilarious. Like Garrett Cole's a baby, dude. Like honestly, I don't like Garrett Cole. I didn't like him when he was with the Astros. I don't like him when he's with the Yankees. Garrett Cole's a baby,
He
dude.
was so good on the Astros, though. Oh,
Right.
man, that was scary.
Right. Well, he's been good with the Yankees. I mean,
Mhm.
shoot, he just won the Cy Young, right? Like,
Yeah.
dude's a beast.
Pirates legend.
So the year that the what was it, 2 years ago when we like put 5 on him in the first inning, batted around the
I
lineup,
do remember that.
and then he ended up still going 6.
Yeah, 'cause we scored 6 in the first inning, and then he went 6 innings because he
Right.
just, like, shoved the other 5.
Right. But
Okay.
whatever. It was still cool to
Yeah.
put it on him like that.
Remember the video of the guy from New York? Garrett Cole gives up 6 runs in the first
Oh
inning
yeah.
against the Seattle
He's a legend. Well,
Mariners.
then he ended up like coming on to
I love
podcasts.
that
Like he
guy.
had his 15
I love
seconds
that
of
guy.
fame.
No, that guy was great.
What is his name? Frankie?
No, Nicky
Oh,
Scarlotto.
Nicky Scarlotto. That's
Yep.
right. Yeah. Speaking of guys raking, dude, James Wood,
Rakes.
Wyatt Langford, like these guys are
Scary.
torching the ball right now.
Big outfielders who can rake.
Dude, James Wood is hitting over 500 in spring. No, I mean it's spring, so whatever.
Yeah.
But he has 3 home runs and hitting over 500 and just like barreling everything up.
Do you know how the Nationals got James Wood? Juan Soto trade.
Dang.
Yeah. Yep. They got him in the Juan Soto trade. They also got they got Mackenzie Gore. They got CJ Abrams. They got the other guy, Robert Hassel.
Maybe the Nationals will actually no, they're not doing
No,
anything this
no,
year.
they're not doing it. But I mean, their outfield coming up though is scary because it's James Wood, Dylan Cruz, and I'm forgetting another one. I think Hassel. So that outfield is gonna be stacked for years to come.
Yeah. Well, if they can, get a whole team out there, that'd be dope. We did see that CJ Cron signed a minor league deal with the Red Sox. I mean, that's a
Whatever.
small little piece of news that, he obviously longtime Angel, went to the Red Sox. We did see that Josh Donaldson announced his retirement this morning. Again, not huge news, but I mean, he's been, pretty prevalent in baseball for quite a few years now. And then there's one little snippet of news that you wanted to talk through about spring training.
Like a John Boy kind of stat. So the Cardinals have played 10 spring training games. They have 336 at bats, and they've hit no homers.
That's
None.
crazy.
None. Second to last team is the Marlins, and they have 3 in 9 games. Okay, and the Marlins don't have any power, like on their roster. So for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are based on hitting too.
Right.
Like their pitching stinks.
Right.
So like they need to hit.
They're going to be in
No
trouble.
home, 336 at bats.
And they've got some guys that should be hitting some bombs too.
Got guys, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, weird. I mean, we don't really have much to talk about when we get into Mariners updates. You're going to hear why we don't have much to why we don't have any room to talk about the Cardinals and their spring training failures. But let's get into our Mariners updates. All right, so we have some games to break down, some individual performances to talk about, a couple injury updates. We have a bunch to cover this spring training. First and foremost, I'm not concerned. I'm going to talk about this in Hot Corner, so I'm not going to go into this in great depth. But the Mariners are 1-7 in spring training, and so people are going to make something out of that. They're going to be concerned. They're going to be worried. Our starting pitching hasn't been particularly sharp. But I'm like, you never know what pitchers are working through, right? They don't know if coaches have given them some new grip to work through, some new mechanic that you don't know what.
I just saw some good news.
You're gonna break up what my train of
Keep
thought.
going.
You better
No,
be
keep
big
going.
news. No, go
Keep
ahead
going.
now. Break it up. Break it up. What's going on?
Opening day, first pitch, Nelson Cruz.
Oh, that's legendary.
That's sick.
Boomstick, baby.
That is freaking sick.
Boomstick is throwing out the first
And I'm
pitch on
gonna be
opening
there
day.
for it.
That's
Oh, yeah.
legendary. Dude,
Oh,
so
yeah.
Boomstick throwing the first pitch, Haniger coming out on the red carpet because he's going to start opening day. That's going to be, dude, that crowd is going to be pumping.
Dude,
just to start.
dude, I love that.
That's cool.
That is
At
awesome.
least it was a Mariners update. I was really hoping that when you gave me that face that you were excited to share some type of
Well,
news, that it was going to be
yeah,
something around the league.
yep.
So at least we're in the Mariners update section of our podcast, and that's a Mariners update. So boom, breaking news as we're recording this on
Just saw this.
Tuesday morning on March 5th, that Boomstick is throwing out the first pitch, which is great.
Hall of Fame?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so people are concerned, right, about the Mariners in spring training. I'm going to go in depth on this during Hot Corner. Uh, I'm not concerned, man. Honestly, the Mariners being 1-7 in spring, they're dead last in ERA at 7.35. Our
Terrible.
pitching has not been
That's so
particularly
bad.
sharp. But dude, you never know. And that's the thing is like when I watch football and I don't know, I know enough about football to be dangerous, but like I work with people in my office that know that like played college football, like know the game way better than I do. And sometimes I'll come in like all flying off the handle about certain stuff and they're like, "Hey dude, like we don't need to worry about that. Like here's this and this to think about." And you're like, "Oh, okay." So in the same vein, like guys that know something about baseball, I'm just telling you, like spring training, it's you never know, like on the football field, you never know if a certain play is called. There's a certain coverage. So it looks like a
Yeah.
guy blew a coverage, but it's like, no, in zone, like he's supposed to pass that off. Like that's what it's supposed to look like.
Mhm.
Same thing in baseball. You have no idea what coaches gave them something like mechanically, like, hey man, when you're pitching, I don't care if you give up a nuke. I just want you to work on in your release or your rotation, whatever. Like there's pieces to that. And we work with our players like that too, where sometimes we're like, hey man, I don't care what it looks like. The other day, I had one of our varsity guys like trying to work on the end, like finishing his throw, right?
Mhm.
Finishing with some violence on the end. And he was really just trying to groove it in. And I'm like, hey, man, I don't care where this ball ends up. I just want you to throw it with some violence. Like, I want you to throw it as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And let's just see what it looks like and see if you can add some velo. Sure enough, he rears back, throws one a little bit higher, but still like within play. Like, catcher is still able to catch it and easily added 3 or 4 miles an hour. And
That's good.
he was like, whoa. And I'm like, yeah, man, like you got to finish your throw. So you don't know, obviously at the pro level, it's going to be way more in depth than that. But my point is this, like you just can't, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I said this on last week's show. George Kirby, his first start of spring, his entire career with the Mariners so far has been like he's gotten hit a ton. And then he gets into regular season and he's fine. So all I'm saying is those that are freaking out about that, like it's going to be fine. But we have gotten a ton of news from Divish, from the 710 guys who are down at spring training, from the KJR guys that are giving us updates. So there's been a ton of stuff to come out of Mariners camp. One of the dumb things, dude, Jerry DePoto, man, he needs to stay off the mic.
Yeah, what is he doing?
Like
Shush.
let Hollander talk. Because when
Please?
Hollander talks, he says stuff that makes sense. I mean, did you hear the other day, like last week, he said the interview that like, hey, if you combine the WAR of both these players, like
Oh, yeah, that
it's a 5.5 and you're gonna be fine. And you're like,
doesn't work like
that's
that.
1,000 at bats, bro. Like, what are you talking about?
That's like 250 games.
Right,
You can't do that.
right. That's not how that works. Like, you're not gonna get 5.5 WAR out of the position by just combining two guys' stats. That's not how this works, dude. Now I agree with the sentiment that he was trying to prove, which is like I think we're going to be fine at third base, hopefully.
Think.
But again, having one weak position, like you're not going to be stacked at every spot unless you're the Dodgers. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, like you're always going to have that point of weakness, right? Where there's going to be like, hey, maybe we have some question marks there. But again, we're going to talk about Josh Rojas a little bit further on in the podcast here. Like third base so far, it hasn't been a big deal.
No, it has been a big deal, but I mean,
And so Jerry DePoto, one, said that. And then two, also said that Ty could play third base. And Divish made a like dig at him, was like, that'd be news to Ty. Like, what are you even talking about? Like,
I don't believe in what Divish said there. I really don't. Because why would there be videos of Ty France playing wall ball with Perry Hill with a infield glove on? Like, I think he's not training to play third base, but like he's still like moving and doing third base stuff as if there's ever a possibility.
and he has played third base in his career.
Exactly. He's
It's
played
not like
second base.
right. But my point is like if Ty France is playing third base, like
Something had to go.
something went wrong. Like Josh Rojas, whatever. Our answer at third base must not be the answer if that's happening. But yeah, man. So one of the things I wanted to get into that was super cool to see was that Rob Friedman, aka the pitching ninja, spent a ton of time with our guys in spring training, which was
I
really
loved
cool.
it. Yep. So we interviewed Logan on his pitch grips and just like in general. Have you seen the size of Logan Gilbert's hand, by the way?
Yeah. I
Crazy.
made a joke that actually, by the way, got reposted by Pitching Ninja. We got a ton of love from
Oh, yeah.
Pitching Ninja, which
Yeah.
was really cool. I woke up one morning, I was like, why is this post all of a sudden blowing up? And it's, oh,
Oh, look who
Pitching Ninja
reposted.
reposted
Yep.
it. And then that day, I think he reposted like 4 different things of ours. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But one of them was, I said about Logan Gilbert's hands. I said, "You know what they say about big hands? Nasty splitters." That was the first one that he reposted, and it went big, which is cool. Um,
Then he interviewed Cal, he interviewed Kirby, interviewed Bryce Miller, interviewed Brian Wu, interviewed Brian Bliss. And if you don't know, uh, he said like Brian Bliss played travel ball with his son.
oh, wow.
Yeah, small world. And then Gabe Spire. So like with all the pitchers, he actually went through pitch grips. And one thing that he pointed out is with our staff is like, well, all their grips they feed off each other. Like they always learn from each other. It's always
Right,
kind of the same stuff, especially with the splitter or like the slider. How they kind of put their pointer finger, they spike it a little bit. Um, it's mostly kind of the same stuff except for the fastballs.
right.
That's the only thing that really changes, which is good.
And he interviewed Cal and asked Cal, like, "Hey, what pitch do you not wanna see from all of these pitchers?" And almost all of them were fastball.
Yeah, except Logan.
Except for
Logan
Logan
was
and
hurt.
his splitter, right? And so that was cool. He talked to Kirby about his knuckleball, which seems to be like the talk of like the MLB. Like other players are being asked about George Kirby and his knuckleball, and if other players are gonna like, it'd be cool, man. Like,
And he throws it with 3 fingers.
right,
That's not traditional, and
right.
yeah.
And so like, what's really cool is like I was a huge fan of Tim Wakefield. Knuckleballers have always been like really intriguing to me. Like guys that can make it at the big league level, throwing 70 miles an hour, like that's cool. And so I've always been intrigued by that. So I kind of love it, bro. I kind of love that the knuckleball is having a resurgence in baseball. I
Yeah,
think it's
and he
cool.
says it on the interview so, like, hitters can, always keep a lookout, like, "Hey, I might throw this to you. I
Right.
might throw this to you 1 or 2 times. Keep you off
Right. So
balance
you
a
have
little
to
bit."
prep. Yeah, you got to
Yep.
prep for
You
it. You
gotta
got to
prep
have
be prep for a knuckleball.
right. But you got to have it in the back of your head that like that could be coming, which again, like we talked about last week, that's Kirby's sixth pitch. Right? Like that's nasty to have to prepare for him. Some other big news that came out is that Dipoto. So here's the deal: I might be eating crow really fast. Last week, I was adamant that Cole Young wasn't going to see the major leagues for a couple of years. Still, told everybody to calm down. Maybe I need to get spooled up because
Yeah,
Dipoto
dude.
Dipoto came out and said that Locklear and Young could potentially be guys that get called up this year. Now, Locklear, that's on our radar. Although defensively, he had kind of a rough week.
Yeah.
He had a couple plays at first. He missed a grounder, missed a couple digs. I had a buddy text me and was like, "Hey man, so like, what's the scouting report on Locklear's defense?" And I'm like, "Oh, like actually, he's normally fine. I don't know if he's Golden Glove fine, but like,
No.
he's fine there." And he's like, "Well, he just missed 2 digs and a grounder, like all within like 3 innings of each other." And I was like, "Ouch."
Yeah, that's fun.
But Cole Young's been balling out, and honestly, Cole Young could be our answer at third base. I mean, it could be.
Could be like, this is a long shot. It's a
Right.
long shot, and it's kinda a little bit down the road. Obviously, he's not gonna make the opening day roster.
But the transition from shortstop to third base isn't outrageous.
No, it's not. Um, some teams lean towards more athletic third baseman too,
Right.
instead of a guy who
Well,
can
normally
just
when guys lose a step, then they go to third, right? Like that's why everyone's talked about that with Carlos Correa. That's why Alex Rodriguez did that. Like there's a lot of guys, there's a history of guys that have gone from shortstop to play third base.
not Correa.
Guys have talked about Carlos Correa when he went to the Twins when he had all the ankle stuff. They were
I mean,
talking
yeah.
about him going from shortstop to third
Yeah,
base.
and then well, I mean, you saw it with he didn't go to third base, but, like, Bogarts got moved to second base.
Right.
Trevor Story got moved to second base.
Right.
Marcus Semien got moved to second yeah, he got moved to second base.
Yeah.
So,
So, anyways, there's a history of moving shortstops around. So Cole Young, I mean, obviously he could play any of those three, and he'd be just fine.
it's infield.
Infield.
Yeah, just infield.
And honestly, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he might make the Oregon. That's what we tell our guys, right? Like that's what we tell our high school guys. Like make us play you. Practice so well, like crush it so well that like we would be idiots to not
Yeah,
start
or
you.
have us make tough decisions.
Right?
Make
Or
us think twice.
make us think twice. And the same thing is like Cole Young, how he's coming through in spring training right now is making the organization like, oh, maybe his wave that Dipoto likes to talk about isn't going to crash until 2025. Maybe he's going to make you bring him up in 2024,
Maybe he's gonna force your hand a little bit.
right?
Who
Which
knows?
we encourage. We love that.
Yep.
Some injury updates on the downer side of things. Saw some stuff literally this morning that came out. You want to walk us through what's going on?
Yeah, I just saw a tweet about one. So Jackson Carr felt soreness a little bit. They're gonna ramp him down a little bit. Urias actually is playing third today, but his shoulder is still not 100%. It's good to see him out in
It's
the
good to
field,
see him
though.
in the field. That's a good
I just
sign.
saw a video of him taking grounders. He looks okay. He looks like an infielder. I mean, nothing really too special. Gregory Santos throwing a long toss today, 150 feet. I don't know if I'd call that long toss for an MLB player, but sure. And then it says in the notes that Matt Brash isn't throwing yet, but I just saw a video of him throwing. He played catch at 60 feet, had 25 throws, had no issues. He'll play
Let's
catch
go.
another day to build it up.
Let's go.
Yep.
So today was a big day. Everyone was talking about that yesterday. That today was going to let us know where Brash was at, and I didn't see that tweet. They said that he got through catch and was solid, was fine,
Mhm.
no injury. You're gonna keep looking. All right, so we have a bunch of games that we're wanting to break through. Obviously, we have a split squad today, so tons of guys getting reps. Those games are going to be at the exact same time. Every player that you probably want to see get reps is getting reps today. Everyone's probably playing. It's kind of cool. We did find out that Montez is going to get some more looks. He did get 2 at bats, which didn't really produce much, but we didn't think that Lazaro was going to be getting a ton of reps this spring. So the fact that he is exciting. Granted, he's probably a couple of years out for sure, but still cool to see these young guys getting reps. So we have split squad today. Tons of guys getting reps. But let's break down our first game of our segment, which is our 5th spring training game against Kansas City.
Yep. Logan Gilbert started. He threw 2 clean innings. He looked really good.
Yeah.
No hits, 1 walk, no earned runs. Kohler had a solid outing of relief. This is why his injury kind of stings a little bit because
Because
he's looked really well.
he's been really good this
It was
spring.
in the ESPN article, right?
Yeah.
In the ESPN article at players that stood out. Cal hit a 3-run bomb, and Mitch Haniger clutch RBI. I mean, there really wasn't that much. We lost the game, of course.
Again, we've lost every game but
We
one.
lost every game except one because we one hit the Reds
Right.
and no hit them through 8.
Right.
Going on to the 6th spring training game against the White Sox, lost.
Yep.
Bryce Miller started.
This game was outrageous. This is one
This game was nuts.
yeah.
I
This
mean,
is
this
the
was
one
the
that
definition of a spring training game.
yeah, just absolutely chaotic, tons of runs, tons of hits. I was at practice when this game was happening, and like my watch was going off every 5 seconds. I'm like, dude, what is happening in this game right now? We
So
did see Brian Anderson hit a 3-run bomb, which was
on the
huge,
first swing,
which is
he
great.
was oppo too. It was right center.
Dude, it's like our third baseman like heard us talking and or like not just us,
It
but
was that
like
morning
the
too.
media, and it was that morning like, oh dude,
Oh,
Urias hits a triple that game. Brian Anderson hits a 3-run home run. Cole Young has a tank. Garver, is starting at catcher. People are freaking out. Guys, Garver's going to catch probably 10, 15 games this year. Like you're going to need to be okay with that. Like
yeah.
he's a catcher. He's going to DH for us primarily, but he will catch some games. Now Zavala is going to be the main backup, but I guarantee you Garver is going to catch some games, and like he needs reps behind the dish, even in spring training. So there were people that were freaking out, but Miller,
And he called a good game for
and he
Bryce.
called a great game for Bryce.
Bryce ended up, I think it was his last batter of the 2nd inning. He threw him 4 straight splitters, and this batter had no idea what was going on. He
So
was just
nasty.
doing like a screw me kind of swing, and because his splitter has a lot of arm side run, so he throws 4 splitters in a row and then throws a fastball in the outside corner and freezes him. Oh, that poor guy.
Dotted.
Another tidbit. I don't know if people know this about Mitch Garver. You know the one-legged catcher stance?
Yeah.
On a knee and your legs out. Mitch Garver came up with that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which I thought was insane. Yeah, Urias' triple. I did not realize how slow he was.
Oh, dude, he's slow.
He's really slow.
Yeah. And we did see Munoz get his first action of the spring through an inning, had 2 Ks, and was sitting over 100, which is insane.
Sitting 101 with a sinker.
Yep. Just gross.
Yeah.
So keep him healthy. Let's get him rolling. 7th game of spring training. We played Colorado.
Lost.
Wu had his bump day, and he got shelled. Still struggling with
He can't
lefties.
get lefties out to save his life.
But
I
here's the
mean,
thing.
Not Nolan Jones, Charlie Blackmon. Forgot they have other lefties too,
But
but
people were freaking out and they were like, should Emerson Hancock be a start? No, dude, listen, Wu's starting spot is not in jeopardy. Okay. The starting rotation is the starting rotation. Again, we don't know what he was working on. There might be things that he was working on that coaches told him to work on. This is what I was saying. Like, everybody needs to calm down. Wu did get slapped around a bit. He is still struggling against lefties. He did talk about earlier this spring that he's implementing some different strategies against lefties. So we'll see what that looks like. He might have just been experimenting with stuff. Again, he's our fifth starter. Like, let me say this again for the people in the back. Brian Wu is our fifth starter. If he gets knocked around a little bit, that's okay. Now, do we want him to get knocked around? Of course not. Do we think he has like 3-ish stuff right now? Absolutely. However, he's our fifth starter, dude. Fifth starters get hit around. Like, that's baseball.
yeah. But I am slightly concerned that he still can't get lefties out. I mean, first inning, Charlie Blackmon single. He got Chris Bryant to go around into a double play. Chris Bryant's a righty. Like that hasn't been a problem with Wu. And then Ryan McMahon single. Bradley Zimber single. Then he gets pulled after that for Gerard Bayless. And then Brian Wu comes back in for the second because you can do that in spring training just to get your pitch count. He strikes out Charlie Blackmon, and then Ryan McMahon homers. Like, he got what? He
He got
faced like 5 lefties and got one of them out,
yeah.
and the other 4 got base hits.
I'm just saying he's young.
Yikes.
He's young. He's our fifth starter. Give him some rain. He'll figure it out. Some positives that came from the game. Rojas, that was where he really started torching the ball. Had a double, had a 3 ribbies, and had a home run. And that was the game that we saw Harry Ford throw 2 guys out in the same inning.
That was sick.
Dude, Harry Ford, again, I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. The people that are concerned about his defensive prowess, like even his receiving stuff, like he's worked on it obviously because he looks great.
He has a 1.8 pop time. Like, if you don't know, the average like major league catcher pop time is 2.
Right.
That's crazy. That's
So
like
Harry
crazy
Ford
fast.
has obviously put in some work on his defensive side of the game. The reason why people were comparing Emerson Hancock and Brian Wu was because of Emerson Hancock's performance against Oakland.
Lost.
So again, was that our loss? Oh yeah,
Yeah, we lost. We gave
yeah,
up 12 to Oakland, dude.
yeah.
What are we doing?
But Emerson Hancock was a beast. Was absolutely shoved. And again, it's Oakland. So, but I say it's Oakland with a little shrug, but then they did put up 12 on us. So you're like, Jiminy Christmas. The Mariners, the reason why we lost and it did not go well is we had 4 errors. Again, spring happens. Some two no-name guys committing errors. There's that. Brian Anderson had another big day at the plate, which is obviously good for us. The only downside is that some bullpen guys that we're probably going to lean pretty heavily on in Voth and Thornton, they got shelled.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Thornton gave up, well, 3 runs, one of them earned in 2/3 of an inning, and then Voth gave up 3 runs, all of them earned in 2/3 of an inning.
yeah.
Didn't strike anybody out.
Again, it's spring, so I'm choosing to reserve judgment. We still got a lot of spring training games ahead of us before we
You
get
said
to
the
it.
4 errors were no-name guys?
No, I said 2 of the 4 were
Yeah.
no-name guys.
One of them was Julio.
Yeah, we're gonna ignore that. That was his second game, first game
First
back.
game.
Yeah,
It was
first game
first
back.
game.
So relax, people. And then we saw the San Diego game. We had the day off yesterday, so this was on Sunday.
Lost.
Well, Castillo looked good in the first,
And then the second happened,
and then the second happened.
and they gave up a tank to Tatis,
Which
I mean,
Tatis is one of the best hitters in baseball, so that's fine.
yeah. Cade Marlowe went yard off. Yu Darvish.
Which was cool.
Johnny Farmello. Get into that.
We'll get into that in a little
Yeah.
bit. But
Tripled.
Farmello tripled. Yep.
They believe he's the fastest player in the organization. Like, one that's filled with classe. I mean, Hags is still fast.
Julio.
Samad Taylor's fast. Julio. Which is, yeah, that's pretty eye opening. And then my boy Reed Van Scotter again with another solid outing.
Hopefully that's how you say his name.
I hope so too. 4 innings pitched, another 4 strikeouts. So he's at 8 Ks, I believe. So
He had another 2 innings pitched.
yeah,
He pitched 2 innings against San Diego.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had another 4 Ks, which was insane. No runs. So, bro, I'm like, he's trying to make that. Vargas got tapped up a bit when his outing, and so we'll see what the end, what the opening day roster looks like.
Yeah.
But he might make opening day just with how Van Scotter's been going.
But
We'll
he's
see.
Van Scotter's gonna be in Double A. He was in Single A all of last year,
Well, dude, I'm just saying, like
and he's a starter.
they've shown that that they're willing to pull guys up if they pull them, and also change from starting to relief like overnight. They did that with Diaz.
Yeah,
They've done that
but I
with a
mean,
bunch of
he's
guys.
pitching in the 8th and ninth inning where, he's facing other Double A-ish guys.
That's fair enough.
So,
I'm just saying he's trying to make a push.
yeah. Oh, for sure.
So
S
yes, so you want to go over some statistical leaders so far
Well,
through
I'm gonna
spring?
go over the lineups of the split squad
Oh, go
today.
ahead. Yep.
So when I don't know when this is gonna be uploaded,
Hopefully
but
today.
hopefully today on Tuesday, March 5th. Lineup 1, JP, Julio. So this is most of the guys, most of the MLB guys. JP, Julio, Garver, Cal, Haniger, France, Urias, Trammell, and Hags with Logan on the mound. And then the second lineup, they're playing at the same time, by the way. Demo, Polanco, Rayleigh, Canzone, Anderson, Rojas, Marlowe, Zavala, and Clase. Cade Marlowe playing center field, by the way, with Casey Lawrence starting. This is like his third game started of the spring.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Dude, honestly, we don't have this in the
uh,
notes, but one of the players that's a breakout player that the org has been talking about, everyone's dude, Dom Canzone.
I was gonna say, yeah, I knew you were gonna say that.
Dom Canzone, they're saying is like the hottest hitter on the team right now. I mean, he had that 3-run jack. He's been hitting the ball really well, playing the field really well. I told you, bro. Like, I think Dom Canzone's gonna have a breakout.
You know what I just thought of? Who are like the 3 borderline hottest guys in spring training right now?
Cade,
Canzone.
Cade.
I'm okay. I'm trying to fit a theme here.
Oh, you're okay. Sorry, I don't know
Canzone.
where you're going.
Canzone.
Yep.
Who's else been raking?
I just
Who are you
I
gonna
just said Cade Marlowe, and
who'd you shout out? What
who
infielder?
Cole Young.
Nope.
Dude, what? I don't know where you're going with this.
Rojas
Oh,
and Bliss.
Rojas. Oh, yeah. So the
What
trade.
exactly. That's
The
exactly what
the
I just
Arizona.
thought
I
of.
had no idea where you were going with that.
No.
Yeah, the Arizona trade guys are all 3 coming in big. Bliss hasn't been as great in the field though, and that is something that might hold him back a little. Um,
Yeah, take time.
I mean, I still think he's going to start the year in AAA,
Oh, I think so too.
and then we'll see how he does there. But I'm just pumped on Canzone, dude. Like,
Yeah.
and Rojas. So we're going to talk about Rojas in a second. We just like we're teasing that out a ton. I hope I hope I hope I bring the heat during that segment because here we are.
Yeah.
So why don't you walk through the statistical leaders? Obviously, we just shouted out some of the guys that have done really well so far in the spring. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I put together a bunch of stuff with Mariner statistical leaders this spring. So like games played, Cole Young, Tyler Locklear, Cade Marlowe, and Jonathan Clase have each played 4. Uh, Tyler Locklear leads the team in hits with 6.
Boom, baby.
Locklear and Rojas are tied for 2 with doubles. Farmelo and Urias have the only triples.
Might be the only triple Urias gets all year.
Dude, and it's like that's the highest like differential in speed I've ever seen when it comes to triples. Uh, we have like a ton of guys who have 1 homer, so I'm gonna go through this real quick. Anderson, Canzone, Chavis, Garver, Haniger, Marlowe, Rojas, or Raleigh, Rojas, Scheffler, Taylor, and Young. So Smod Taylor, Matt Scheffler, Cole Young. RBIs, Brian Anderson and Cole Young. Brian Anderson has more RBIs than at bats, so he's 5 RBIs, 4 at bats.
Let's go. I'm just saying, Brian Anderson's trying to win this.
He's really
Trying to win
I'm
this
rooting
spot.
for him
I
too.
am too, bro. Like, that would be huge for us.
Walks, Jorge Polanco and Cole Tucker with 4.
Let's go.
Stolen bases, Jonathan Clase, Brock Rodden, and Taylor Trammell with 2. And on the pitching side, Gerard Bayless, freaking his name, Blas Castano, Mauricio Rivera, and Colin Snyder each have 3. Colin Snyder's gotten roughed up a little bit. He looks iffy. Innings pitched, Luis Castillo, Jonathan Diaz, and Reed Van Scotter, my boy,
There he is.
with 4 innings pitched, and then Van Scotter leads the team with 8 strikeouts.
I'm just saying, man, he might be. I mean, with Vargas, so Vargas did struggle.
But I mean,
He's been a little
he was
wild.
in
He hit a
Single A
couple.
last
He
year.
hit a couple guys. Van Scotter might be. I'm just saying, like that might be a dark horse to make the lineup. The 26 man.
I
He
mean,
might.
I don't know. I feel like why would they sign all these minor league guys if they Like,
I think what they're doing, dude, is just throwing a ton of spaghetti at the wall and just seeing what stuck. I don't think they care what comes out of it. I think they signed all those minor league guys. They had all these things. Like they want to just throw a ton at the wall and see what guys like rise up out of that, which I'm good with. They
yeah,
also made a bunch of cuts. We didn't actually put it in the notes. There was no names that were surprising on it. They made a couple. Their first round of cuts was it yesterday?
2 days ago.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Nobody on the list was surprising, which is why we didn't really talk about it. It was just a bunch of minor league invite guys that
Someone
didn't
that
make the
is
squad.
shoving though, that I will shout out a little bit here is Jonathan Diaz.
Yeah,
So he leads the him and Van Scotter are tied for 4 innings pitched, and they both haven't given up a run. I think Diaz has like 6 strikeouts, Van Scotter is 8, but I mean they both have a under 1 whip. I think it's like point 0.5. Um, no runs given up. So shout out to the 2 lefties out of
shout
the
out.
pen.
Done. Gabe Spire got tapped up a little bit too.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Dude, did you see the line in the middle of his jersey from the sweat?
yeah.
These jerseys suck.
Yeah, the jerseys are bad, man.
So
But yeah, anyway, that's kind of a breakdown of all of our spring training games this last week. Some injury updates, some updates just from interviews and things like that. Obviously, as spring continues on, we will continue to just break down what's going on and how things are going. And then as we get closer to opening day, which we are 23 days away, something like that. We're coming in hot, man.
yep.
So we're gonna keep on grinding through spring training and getting to it. And then, man, opening day is gonna be here before we know it.
Ooh, Locked On Mariners is gonna have Jerry on the show on Thursday.
Whoa. So he's gonna put his foot in his mouth some new way on Thursday, and we'll talk to you about it next week. There's that.
We're gonna have some more word vomit.
Yeah. With that being said, let's get into our player of the week. Dude, I better bring the heat right now. I've been teasing this out all show. My player of the week, if you have not picked it up by now, it has been Josh Rojas. He's been hitting. He hit 400 this spring so far, 900 slug. And here's the thing: I think the biggest concern I have about Rojas is his defense. There were some plays last year at second base that were pretty rough. Like he had one that literally was like a little league went through his wickets. Like I don't know if I've seen many major league players have that happen to them. And so I'm like, hey, here's the deal though. I'm willing to give him a shot, give him an offseason with Perry Hill, give him work, whatever. The work that he's put in at third base so far has been fine. Notice his name is not on the list of errors that we've had so far.
Well, yeah, I mean we've had plenty of
We've
those.
had plenty of errors, but he has not had one of them. And honestly, he's probably just around league average, which I'm like, hey, that's fine. Like it's okay. Like he doesn't have to be a Gold Glover. We don't need to have a Gold Glove at third base. We just need something that's serviceable, that's a league average glove, and then a good bat. And Rojas has been hitting. He's been really clutch. He has 3 RBIs so far. I feel like I've just gotten tons of updates on him whenever I look at the ESPN tracker during games or whatever. And anyways, man, like I'm really pumped. I'm fine. And Josh Rojas has been hitting lefties, righties. It doesn't matter. He's really showing that like he could be an everyday third baseman. And depending on how Urias starts the year, or if he starts the year, or whatever, Rojas might just go up and grab that everyday spot, man. Like we'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. Um, Mine is another Arizona trade guy, Ryan Bliss.
Normally, that's my guy that I normally talk about.
Yeah.
I'm normally a huge Bliss guy, so it's your turn.
I mean I'll have a lot about him. He's just hitting really well this spring. Kind of want to shout him out. He's hitting 455, stud, over 1,000 OPS. I mean that it's like slightly over 1,000, which is kind of like weird because he's hitting 455.
Yeah.
So I guess he's probably not walking as much. And he's played second base, played some shortstop. He struggled with the glove a little bit at shortstop. He had an error that kind of screwed Kirby over. Um, yeah, he's stole a base. His speed looks really good. He looks like he's flying around everywhere just fine, and he's timing up major league pitching
Yeah,
day in and
I
day
mean,
out.
he's probably the first guy up. Like either him or Locklear. Like those guys are probably not going to start the year on the 26th man, but they'll probably be the first guys up
Yeah,
if there's an injury or something weird happens.
yeah, and I'm excited to see it. Like
Same,
honestly,
same.
so
All right, well, let's get into our prospect insider. So we were debating about who we were going to talk about because we have talked a lot of names throughout the offseason. And this guy we have already talked about, but I just had to talk about him.
yeah,
Johnny Farmelo, dude.
you
Like
just seen a clip of him and you're like, whoa, like
he
that.
is flying around. He's making plays. Bro, I think he's trying to fast forward his track here. He's making plays in the outfield. He's raking at the plate. Obviously he started slow with us because he had the injury right after we drafted him. So
Yeah.
he's been a little behind everyone else. But he's showing that like he might be on a quicker track than we thought.
Yeah, he's only 19 years old. Um, he's younger than me, which is crazy. Uh,
That only happens more and more as you get older, bro, where you're
well,
like,
I
dude,
know.
everybody on the Mariners team is as old as me or younger.
Yeah, I mean, right now he has a 70 grade speed. I can't imagine I won't see that at 80 at some point when he gets closer among the ranks and people start hearing his name. Yeah, hit a triple down the or the right field line, and he flew. Like it was a clear stand up triple. Um, like I said before, people believe that he is the best speed in the organization. You know, as you've seen with some of the guys in the org, like
Yeah, I mean,
that's something. That's an accolade to
he's only
have.
had 4 at bats, right? But he
But
did
he's
get
two for
2
four.
he went 2 for 4 and doing just fine. And yeah, flying around. And yeah, that's saying something. We have some fast guys on this squad, so if he is the fastest, like that's really
And that's
saying
part of
something.
the reason why the Mariners draft him. Just athlete.
Well, the
Aim for
thing
the
that I
best guy
loved
available.
the thing I've loved about their drafts the last couple of years is they're just going best available. Like they're not trying to go need, they're not trying to
They're
like
not doing the Angels.
right, they're not pulling in Angels where they only draft one position all year, one draft. Where they're just saying, "Hey, I don't care if we draft 3 shortstops, like whatever, like we're going to go get the best players available and we can develop them, we can rotate them around or we can trade them if, depending on how they perform." And Johnny Farmelo, dude, so far has just had a really good spring, which is exciting. Again, this is
He
not
might
the
hit again today too.
yeah,
Now,
this
because especially since they're doing split squad, I
yes.
imagine he'll
I
get hit
bet you
again.
everybody's gonna like everybody that we care about will get some reps
Yeah,
today.
I
That's the
agree.
benefit of having the split squad 2 games at the same time. So, but on the bad side of that is we can't watch it because the next 11 games are not on TV, not being streamed. They did come out and say, "Hey, our streams were really successful, but we're not doing any more this year, and we'll take notes for next year." And you're like, "Are you serious, dude? Like, do you guys not want your fans to watch your product?" Like, I don't understand their approach. If I'm them, I'm like, "Bro, I need to make it available for my fans to watch. If they want to watch spring training games, like that's more revenue for you." Like it makes no sense
It
to me.
they're business people, but they've
They're pretty
made
bad
some.
at
They're
business.
pretty bad at business.
For business
It's
people, they are pretty bad at business.
like, how do you know?
Yeah. Anyways, so moving on, Johnny Farmelo, stud prospect. We're excited about him. Let's see what it looks like, in the next couple of years. He's still probably ways away from making the M's.
Ways
Yeah,
away because he was playing high school baseball last year.
right.
Like,
But he's crushing. So let's see what it looks like. Anyways, let's move on to our hot corner. All right, today's hot corner is another one of those days where we just apparently have opposite takes as our hot take. So I'll start with mine, and then obviously you'll just figure out what the inverse of that is, and that's what Ethan's is. And honestly, mine is like I don't, dude. I'd prefer to win to lose. Sorry, here we go. I'll restart. I prefer that we would lose every spring training game, and here's why. I feel like teams that like we've done this before, by the way. When the Mariners have like historically gone through spring training and just rolled up everybody and played super well, which we've had spring trainings like that where we've gone like almost undefeated through spring. It's almost like guys that get like cocky, they get a little like loose of like, oh, we're fine, like we're in a crush, blah 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 blah. Dude, it's spring. It's spring. So I feel like when you lose in spring training, it creates that hunger. Like guys don't like losing whether it's spring training or not. And so I'm guaranteeing you there's guys that are in that dugout that are pissed off that we're 1-7. So I'm like, good. Use that energy, use that fuel, get ticked off. And I'm like, dude, if we lose, I don't care. Like I really genuinely don't care if we lose in spring training. And honestly, if I had to pick, I would pick being under 500 and losing more than winning in spring training.
yeah, but like you can't.
Here's the inverse.
You can't lose every game.
We haven't. We won one.
We, we played 8. And who are those losses to? Well, first of all,
Everybody.
this is literally everybody we played. Um, our only win was when we one hit the Reds.
Right.
Like, what do we? This is the thing that concerns me though. We have the worst ERA. Like, it's by like a full run. We're it's bad. Like we're the worst record, right? And then the team has the second worst record, also has the second worst ERA. and it's by a full run. A full run. And considering the fact that we had all these pitchers and we signed all these pitchers and
It's precisely
pitchers,
because we've
pitchers,
signed all those
pitchers,
pitchers, Ethan.
like
Like we're playing a bunch of guys that like aren't going to make the team, aren't going to be
yeah,
anybody.
but that doesn't mean they haven't played in the majors before. Like,
I'm just
and
saying you
another
can't
thing,
take it that seriously.
but like you can't win more than a game, a single game, and you give up double-digit runs in 3 straight games, and 2 of those teams are the Rockies and the A's? Come on. Come on. I mean, Castillo has over a 6.5 ERA.
I'm just
Wu
saying
has over a 10 ERA.
this isn't room for concern. Like when we get to listen, if we get to opening week and we start playing like this, then sure, like we'll have a conversation and I'll be more of ringing the alarm bell. But for me, like who knows what guys are working on, man? They don't even care. These coaches are like they're looking at this differently. Like they're not looking at the win and loss column. They are looking at how can we make this team better? What adjustments can we make? It's kind of like, dude, it would be like yesterday we just had a sim game for our high school guys, right? Like we just had a sim game where like varsity pitchers are pitching against varsity hitters with the JV in the outfield, and then flip one where we had JV pitching throwing to JV catcher or JV hitters, and then having varsity in the outfield. It'd be like if we watched our sim game yesterday and then we're freaking out because like things, there was a walk here or a walk there, a guy stole a bag, whatever. It's like we were working on stuff. Like we're literally working with our guys out in the field. Like I'm not tripping about how they play. Like I'm looking for specific things in specific guys. And our pitching coach is literally standing out on the mound with our guys pitching, working through mechanical things with them. Like that's what these are for. So I'm not going to trip out about spring training, and I would rather guys be hungry and pissed off going into the season than like coasting on a cloud thinking that they're all set because they just won a ton of spring training games that nobody cares about. That's all I'm saying.
So, fun fact,
Fun fact.
last year, the 5 teams with the worst record in the Cactus League, I'll go by league too. In the Cactus, or I'll go 3, bottom 3. The Guardians, how'd they do? The Rockies, how'd they do? The A's, how'd they do? I mean, I'm not saying like the roster's like A's bad, but like gotta win some games. Gotta win some games. Like, come on. How'd the Mets do? How'd the Pirates do? How'd the Marlins do? Just saying, man.
It's
And then
not an
at the top, I
indicator.
see the Braves, I see the Astros. Look at that. Rays. I'm just
It's not an indicator like cool
I'm
last
not
year at the
saying we're
lineup.
terrible, but like, come on. Like
They'll pick it up. They'll pick it up as we get closer.
when you I mean, freaking pitching ninja went to the spring training of the worst team ERA.
It's because our pitching core is legit and we're going to be fine. Everything's going to work out. It's okay, Ethan. We're going to be okay. I promise.
We'll be fine, but like, dude, is that not like slightly concerning? Like even at all?
For
Like
everybody's
losing
first, hold on. These are all of our starting pitchers' first starts. So my answer to your
I'm
question
not even
is no.
I'm not
I'm
even
not.
talking about starters either. What about Austin Voth and Trent Thornton?
That
Like
wasn't great.
exactly. What about
But how many innings are those guys going to really get? You know what I mean? Like that.
they're supposed to make the major league club and they're giving up freaking runs to the Las Vegas Aviators. Like, come on, man.
I hear you. I hear you. We hope, obviously, that they turn the ship. They've got a ton of games left in spring training. It was everybody's first start. We're just getting started out. Everybody, including Ethan, step off the ledge. It's going to be okay. I promise. Like, we're going to get into the season and everything's going to be fine. This is just
I
how
hope it's
spring goes.
I mean,
It,
it's gonna be fine.
it will be
It'll be
fine.
fine.
We're going to
I'm just
manifest it.
it's like it's a little just like, you know, could we like pick it up a little bit? Could we not
Fair
lose
enough.
every spring training game?
Fair enough. Let's put some conditioning in place for walks and errors, right?
Dude,
Like
like
let's get it going.
I'm gonna you keep talking. I'm gonna freaking pull up the
I'm about to
Mariners last
close this thing out, dude. These guys want to get they want to close out on their podcast app and be done. Hey, listen, man, we are super grateful for you guys listening. Appreciate your guys's just man everything. Like we get support every week. We hear messages on or we get messages on Twitter. We hear from our friends, from people that are listening to the show. We thank you for the support. We want you guys to like, subscribe, go do it all on YouTube. Go follow us. Go subscribe. What's funny, dude? I'm like trying to close this thing out, and you're over here giggling.
when I'm in a spring training run allowing competition, my opponent's the Mariners.
Wow. Anyways, we're going to close this thing up. Thank you guys for listening. Go like, subscribe, go leave a comment, do your thing. Roast Ethan for him freaking out about spring training. Whatever you need to do. Thanks for listening. This is the Soto Mojo Podcast. Have a good week.